Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Friday, October 5th, and we're kind of having a slightly laid back Friday just because there's not a ton of news to do. We're on the European account, but I need one more victory on the main account. So I guess we'll try to just get some total dominance and play 20 minions that cost 2 or less, which would be a Murloc quest. Let's see, do we have a Murlocs? Be a little weird if we didn't have a Murloc. Let's see. Interesting. Yes, here we do. Here we have Murloc Wild Games. I'm thinking I'll probably have some extra games I'll need to play after this stream, and this stream will probably only go about 2 hours. So, TechRaptor has an article, Harry Potter RPG leaks showcasing character creator and combat elements. I believe the Warner Brothers, which would be the owner of the Harry Potter series in some parts at least, the movies and the games, I would assume, it was DMCAing some of the leaks of this Harry Potter RPG. I believe this RPG is going to be set, yeah, it says, quote, set in the 19th century to the 1800s Wizarding World. The third-person open-world action RPG game centers around your character with the unique abilities who has aired which apparently is supposed to be earned a late acceptance to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. You're a newly arrived 5th-year student to Hogwarts that demonstrates the late gift of magic with a unique ability to track and identify remnants of a potent ancient power. Now the weird thing is, with the Tale of the Three Brothers, and I'm not an expert in the Harry Potter stories, I didn't read the books or anything, it felt like there really wasn't more than 200 or 300 years of history for Hogwarts. Like, it really felt like, because Harry Potter's story focused so much around the idea of the previous generation causing trouble, that there really wasn't room to expand the history too much. Like, and that's kind of the problem, I think, that's even with the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, is that there's just too much happening in one timeline. Let's see, it says, upon arrival, strange events begin to materialize in the Forbidden Forest, and trouble begins to brew within the castle walls together. There's a lot of misspellings in this description, by the way, and they're putting SIC in parentheses, as in spelling isn't correct, which is, I suppose, the proper way to do some of that. Trouble begins to brew within the castle walls. Together with Professor Elsa Fig, you embark on a journey through both familiar and never before seen locations to bring light to truth behind these mysterious occurrences. On your quest, you'll craft potions, master new spells, and discover fantastical beasts. You will battle dark wizards, goblins, and their supernatural enemies, and uncover the truth about your destiny. The fate of the wizarding world lies in your hands. See, this says it's a third-person open-world RPG, so it seems like it's a pretty linear story. It's not trying to be an MMO experience that's just gonna go on forever. which I think would be appreciated. I don't think we need games that just go on forever in general. It says it will feature journeys to Hogwarts to become one of 8 different wizard types. So I don't know if that means then you theoretically would have to play 8 different times to experience it all. It says experience Hogwarts, make new friends, uncover new secrets, and change the fate of the wizarding world. I'm not sure how much story there really is in Hogwarts though when you take all of the Harry Potter elements out. Like, when you think about it, each Harry Potter book is this extremely unique circumstance that's all built around the main enemy, Voldemort, coming back and causing trouble. With there not being one would hope that there isn't a main enemy, Voldemort, in this, although it's possible that you're playing as a Voldemort-like character and you don't realize it in the story. That would be an interesting twist at the end if you found out, oh no, you're the one that did it. It says freely explore the wizarding world for the first time, which is not true. The regular Harry Potter games let you wander around Hogwarts. It says it's going to have a magic system. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a PlayStation VR game, honestly. Choose your house and friends at Hogwarts and decide to pursue the path of good or evil. You create your own witch or wizard and experience all new stories separate from the books or films. Like, the thing to take away from this too though is it's uncertain how much of this is going to be a full-on good game and how much of this is going to be a terrible, like, portable-esque game. Because remember, right now the most recent, to my knowledge, Harry Potter game that's come out is the Harry Potter game of that is full of microtransactions on your cell phone, and this very well may just be more of that. So there's really no talk about quality yet. We wouldn't know anything about this game if it weren't leaks, and frankly I don't know if there's really too much value in reporting on leaks about games. I suppose you should report on them, I suppose it's news, but until the one creator of that information, the creator of the game, is ready to release more information, you're just left in this holding pattern. This is the ultimate hype before even the hype train has left the station, because even Warner Brothers didn't want you to see this information or know about this game yet. Let's do that. TechRaptor has another article. Ohio State University is introducing cutting-edge esports program. I would very much encourage people not to go to Ohio State University and join an esports program, or any other university to join an esports program. This is crazy, certainly. The only people I think that would qualify for something like that is if you were a professional esports player before you got out of high school, and you're getting a free ride through scholarships, and you'd go to a college and do that. But make sure you definitely get a bachelor's degree, at least, if not a master's or a PhD, in something else. Something that is not video game related, that has some diversity in field choices and just stability in potential career paths. Particularly in esports and any sports game, you're making maybe a lot of money for a few years and then you've burnt out your body and you're left with very little. And we're gonna quickly see a call and a desire for esports players to have a players union with some kind of health benefits and some kind of pension. Really, that's what even like professional football in the United States needs, is a, you play for 1 year, you are in professional football, you're vested for life in a pension and a medical plan, because right now the way it's done, they pay a ton of money to people that don't know how to save money, and so you may be making $1 million or $2 million in 1 year, you spend that $1 million or $2 million, and you're bankrupt the next year when you're benched or not signed. Let's see, moving on, Tech Raptor has an article, The Odd and Indescribable Blind Date. It looks like a weird game. I'm not sure it's on Steam, so I'm not sure I really care about it. Yeah, it's an itch.io game. And it's a pixel graphics kind of blind date conversation game, and I imagine that there's probably some weirdness in it too. So you go on a blind date and then you start getting into weird conversation topics. Doesn't look interesting particularly though. Next we have a game on Steam called Shimmer, which looks like it is a low effort survival game, which even now the low effort survivor games where you can swim around and run around an island, they look pretty good, but they really aren't. They don't have a story, they don't have a reason to exist. Shimmer is 10% off for $12.59. Just because I have some extra time, I'll click on the developer and see if they made anything else. No, they haven't. Next, we have a game on Steam called Colorless, which I think I covered this game already, or something very much similar to this, where it's a platformer where you can play as different colors, and then the different colors interact differently on the platformer. It doesn't look very good. Let's see. I must have just opened this link a second time because I know I covered this. This is 10% off for $4.49, so it's not worth looking at. Alright, getting back to the... I need to just concede this. This is a waste of time. Getting back to Telltale Games, which this is a story that I think rightfully will not die as long as we're still getting rumors and speculation and just having to figure out until there's kind of some finality to it. It's just going to get updates. Gamma Citra has an article, report Telltale Game lays off the remaining of the skeleton crew. I believe that there may still be a few people that are working there, but if it was a skeleton crew of 25 employees, then it's probably down to closer to like 5, I would guess. Like somewhere between 5 and 12 employees. But I don't think every single person could ever really be laid off until the full filing of the bankruptcy comes in, because what happens in the case where you just lay off everybody is you then have some bankruptcy lawyers getting paid by the lenders to come in and handle all the bankruptcy filings and all of that, and that's just going to cost more money. Let's see, moving on, GameIndustry.biz has an article, Truly Social Games acquires the AR developer Cooper's New Reality Garage. Haven't heard of either one of these games. Game companies though. So this is probably more inside baseball than I'd really like to cover. I've been thinking certainly about if there really is any good quality mobile games out there. Like, I think Clash Royale may be the best actual mobile game out there that is mobile only. Hearthstone by far I think would be a better game to play on your phone, and mini games that have mobile versions are probably better than Fallout Shelter might be better, but specifically just a mobile game, Clash Royale may be it. I don't spend a lot of time looking for mobile games, but I also don't see them getting advertised or promoted very much, and they all seem to be very extremely similar. So I probably would like to find a mobile game, and there's definitely something different I'm looking for in mobile games. I want something that would last forever and be playable and slightly entertaining, and I at this point have all the cards in Clash Royale, so there's really no reason to leave it. Let's see. Do I want to do this? I'll do this. Game of Citra had another article, we kind of already talked about it. Report Telltale wants another studio and Walking Dead developers to finish the game. There actually is a Walking Dead game that's not the Telltale Walking Dead game that has some news that will come out eventually here. Let's see, that's one victory. We have a game on Steam called Crypto Crisis, which looks like it's a moderately low effort game where you're doing a crypto engine, cryptocurrency mining simulation game. It's $8.99. It's very, very easy to stick to the rule, if crypto's in the name, avoid it at all cost, because that is just the sign of a desperate, low effort attempt to get free money. I wanted to point out as a slight grievance, Susan Wojcicki, the CEO of YouTube, which, you know what, with this new California law that's going to say you have to have at least one female on the board of every company, and 3 females if you have at least 6 board members in California, she might get moved to Google's board, but she might already be on Google's board. The thing about boards is you can sit on the board, attend no meetings over the course of a year, and still get paid, and so I imagine that's what will happen, is a lot of people will just have their token female board member, and then they will never come up. But anyways, that's not what this is about, although the idea of her leaving YouTube would be quite interesting, and I would like it, I think, depending on who they replaced her with.
I don't need any of you.
My complaint here is that she congratulated Hank Green, a #1 New York Times best-selling author, for his book, which, let's see, I guess it's his book Crash Course, but I don't think I've ever seen her thank any regular YouTubers for anything or congratulate any regular YouTubers. I've seen her congratulate The Rock and other people, but she doesn't seem like she cares, and that's the death note, and it's true. We kind of know she doesn't care, and that's the problem. Is like we get it. We know you don't care about YouTube or YouTube creators. But it'd be nice if you didn't make it so obvious, Susan. Moving on, we have a game called Shooting Chicken Insanity Chickens. Any game by this name clearly is probably more of a troll game than anything else, although in fairness this actually looks rather polished. It looks like chickens get thrown at you and you shoot them. Rubber chickens get thrown at you and you shoot them. This is an English and Japanese game, so I would say that there is probably a slight difference between a troll game and a crazy game. Like, and this is probably slightly me just not wanting to denounce a Japanese developer because I'm probably too much of a Japanophile for my own good. Yeah, there's these rubber chickens that pop up and you shoot them, and it looks like a almost arcade style shooting game. I don't know, I'm gonna probably put this on my wish list just to keep an eye on it, but in all seriousness, if this was made by a Russian, if it said English and Russian for its language instead of English and Japanese, I would immediately call it a troll game and dismiss it. If it said English and Chinese, I'd immediately call it a low effort Chinese game and dismiss it. If it said Portuguese, I'd say it was a troll game. If it said English only, I'd say it was a troll game. The only justification I can make for being a little bit two-faced on this opinion is the fact that this looks in its trailer to be like a actually more polished shooter game, that if you could get your hands on a light gun game, a light gun that would work on your PC, which you can get those, but they're expensive, rather expensive, you could have a really good experience. For most other people, you're going to be playing with a mouse and keyboard, so it's probably not going to be too much of an experience for that anyways. So just the fact that modern PCs don't have light gun input probably are going to make it a different experience. This developer also made a game called the Houchi Play, H-O-U-C-H-I, which is 91% positive with 12 user reviews, which isn't much, and a game called Moe Mikuri SP, which is 75% positive with 16 user reviews. And then a game called the Maid Sands Caving Adventure, which is 61%. And then a whole bunch of DLC for each of these games. Most of the DLC is just soundtracks now. So let me look at the other games this developer makes. The funny thing about the chicken game is it did have some anime characters at some point come into that for no reason. So I'm looking at their other work, and I think what they're doing here is they don't know how to make games. And they're slowly teaching themselves how to make games while also putting anime girls that aren't animated amazingly great. They're not terrible, but they're on low level quality that you would see from a Japanese animation group. And they are all over the place as the style games. Yep, I really had to bend over backwards to decide this, but I think I can ignore the chicken game. That's Shooting Chicken Insanity Chickens. Like, a little bit more polish on it, however. And something like that as an idea might work a lot better. But it definitely needs a little bit more polishing, probably a better company supporting it. Moving on, we have a game called Spotter. This may be the first time in a very long time where we have no games whatsoever to put on the wish list. Spotter. Seems like it's a 3D hidden object game in the dark. I'm not sure I really like the idea of it being in the dark, but I do generally think the idea of a hidden object game in 3D is something that I've wanted to see for quite a long time. And yeah, you have a flare gun that you can shoot to help you find objects, which is an interesting idea. And you're supposed to find everything before time runs out. I'm not sure if this resets or if this is literally just a time-based game. It's not in VR. It almost felt like it should be. $4.99 is really high for a hidden object game, but I'm willing to put Spotter on my list just to keep an eye on it. However, as I look further, there is a slight problem because I'm now looking at what this developer has also made, and they've made Color Sudoku, Parascript, Q-Blocks, Gyms, Backgammon, Pinball, Billiards, Yahtzee, that's Y-A-T-Z-Y, a game called Motorbike that has a mixture of views, a game just called Mahjong, a game called Kink, a game called Space Pig, a game called Solitaire. There's some just very, very basic named games here, and there's quite a lot of them that start getting released on 2017. Like there's Motorbike is the one from 2015, and then there's one called Island Racer from 2016, but it seems like 2017 was all about flooding Steam with at least low effort named games, which is a problem. Let's see.
I must move quickly.
How are we gonna do this?
The battle for justice. The battle for justice. Photonic burst.
Yeah, I really want to wishlist this game, so I'm gonna do it, but I'm probably never gonna buy it. It's way too expensive. And if I know I'm never gonna buy it, and if I know that all the other games they've released are $5, yeah, all of them are at $5. None of them have ever gone down in price. I should just close it. Yeah, and so while it was a little bit of, I did that wrong, or maybe I did that wrong. I'm not sure. Yeah, that was a lot of work to close a tab, but it's the right move. It's almost like I'm getting desperate to find one game to keep and put on the wish list, but I don't know why. Probably at the end of October I'm gonna start going through my wish list and clearing off a lot more things that are on the wish list.
The light dims, but we fight.
Photonic burst.
Let's see. Tech Raptor has an article, Telltale Saga, further downsizing, rumored outsourcing, and more. I would say this Tech Raptor article is probably this is probably the most informative source of information, even if it's not up to date, because it's just a little bit longer. A lot of them is coming from this Telltale employer Retchel, R-E-T-C-H-E-L space Necromolicon, Necronoelicon, at a name for myself.
Reporting for duty.
And he tweeted out, "Hey, remember how there was going to be a skeleton crew staying on for a while and I was part of it? Nah, JK, we all just got laid off too." And I don't know really why you shouldn't have seen that coming. Excuse me. So one of the things to remember and learn from this, if you've never dealt with companies and have been laid off and fired, which a lot of people haven't, or they haven't been fired in the way big corporations and medium corporations, I would say do it. Is, yeah, first thing to learn in any job is your manager is a liar. Management in general is a liar. Not because the individuals are liars, not because it's the individuals are soulless, evil people, which, depending on the case, that may be the case also. It's just how the how the system establishes itself. Seems to be the natural path for any form of a management structure. And it may not be so much lies as they just don't know themselves and they're pretending like they do. But yeah, if a bunch of people get laid off around you, you should be looking for a new job. You should be ready to leave at any second, because you're not going to stick around. Guess what? Management doesn't look at anybody and say, "Oh, that person's special. We're going to keep them and get rid of everybody else." Very rarely that happens, and usually that only happens when there's cronyism happening at the managing level. So I don't think you're being very realistic to be upset that you got laid off too, when you kind of knew that was what was going to happen, or you should have known. But everybody has to have their own first time, I suppose, or see it happen to other people. There's many different ways that layoffs also occur. There are, particularly in union jobs, ways in which layoffs take the course of years, just because you're of the way the systems are set up, and they will try and find reasons to fire a few people every year just because they want to reduce the number of employees so it doesn't look so bad when they finally fire everybody else. But not all layoffs are sweeping fast occurrences. Every time if you see some people getting fired for what look like BS reasons, and you're fairly certain that those are actually the reasons that they were fired for, then you probably are not working in a job that expects any of its employees to be around for a while. Heck, even the grocery store, Walmart stuff, where they have automated checkout, that is a attempt to slowly, eventually lay off all of the checkout workers at grocery stores. They would ideally have very few to no employees in any grocery store, which is exactly what what Amazon is trying to do. Getting back to video games, we have a game on Steam called No Way Out. It's 47% positive with 46 user reviews already. It says it's an action adventure open world. To me, what it looks like is a kind of low effort asset flip third person zombie shooter. Seems like they've got a relatively decent well, from the back at least, it looked like a relatively decent 3D model of this red-haired Lara Croft wannabe character, but they just showed me a picture of the front of her, and there's just no texture detail on her face at all. It's not a blank face, but it's very close to that. It's a shame. I was kind of hoping that No Way Out might be a good game by its name. It's in a bundle. It's 20% off for 79 cents. So, yeah, not a lot to say there. Let's see, 2 damage. Play this first.
Any of you.
Play this. And then play this. Play this.
Reporting for duty.
Next we have a game on Steam called Poltergeist Treasure. It says Poltergeist Treasure is an absurdist comedy point and click adventure game following Sir Typhel, the creator, misspelled, or the recruiter, as he attempts to escape a haunted forest. Let me see what this really looks like. This looks like one of those oddly 3D animated Taiwanese games where they outsourced all the animation to some very cheap Taiwanese. I'm assuming it's like some school that has people animate things as school projects and then turns around and sells them. You see it more on like terrible YouTube videos than you do in video games. Poltergeist Treasure is $4.99 with no discount, and it looks horrible. So I can close that tab pretty easily. Let's see. Jason, 2 plus 2, and this, and
To battle.
we can do this, and we can do this. And that's all we can do. Next we have a platforming game called Slime Quest that it looks better animated than most of these low effort platformers. You're playing as a slime, you're bouncing around, you're following the lines of collectibles. What's funny is that this really is the type of game that you'd see as a project of a video game course or a programming course, but actually has no business existing in the video game world at all, because nobody has made a game like this in decades. So it just shows like a disconnect from the education. I assume that's where this is coming from, or at least from what people think are video games and what actually are video games. Because nobody would play a platformer where you collect keys that doesn't have Mario in it.
Reporting for duty.
Nowadays, like, you might have done that 10-15 years ago. You might have done a Jazz Jackrabbit or something like this. Slime Quest is 40% off for 59 cents, so even they know it's not worth much. Gamer Sutra has an article, Obituary, legendary video game composer Ben Daglish, D-A-G-L-I-S, L-I-S-H. Let's see. Daglish rose to prominence during the 80s, where he's created the scores for numerous notable games, including Cobra Trap, The Last Ninja, and Deflector. I have not heard of any of these games. He worked on a wide range of titles for Commodore 64, Amiga, and ZX Spectrum, or ZX Spectrum, Amstrad CPU, and even performed in live bands at retro game events like Back in Time Live and Retrovision. Okay, so that probably explains a lot there. Like, it totally makes sense why I wouldn't have heard of them if He was a mostly older console style developer.
I fight.
Reporting for duty. Job done.
I'm almost out of cards.
Let's see. So, I would say it doesn't say his age. Oh yeah, it does. He died at 52. So this guy is kind of young to die, and it doesn't say, I think, what he died from. But I being a musician, you kind of you kind of wonder if maybe he partied a little too hard and that caused him to pass early. Of course, that's just pure baseless speculation on my part. Could have been anything. Anything and everything.
I fight.
Let's go ahead and hit that. And that.
Reporting for duty. Justice. The battle. Reporting for
This
duty.
thing is gonna kill me.
The battle.
Unless I could just play some major control here and make him draw a ton of cards, I'm gonna lose. YouTube had this thing that they made as part of their blog or something. I haven't seen this before. It's called Trending Now on YouTube, and it's virtual YouTube's classroom setups and relaxation videos. So the #1 trending, this might have been YouTube ads that put this out, is virtual YouTubers. So if you're not familiar with what virtual YouTubers are, basically it's Hatsune Miku anime character, anime X characters, probably not actual Hatsune Miku, but characters like her,
The battle.
pretending to be real people, pretending to have YouTube channels or actually having YouTube channels, and taking money away from real world people, probably putting that money directly in the pockets of some shady corporations that are paying their employees minimum wage. Although, in all honesty, even getting minimum wage in most countries is probably making more money than most small-time YouTubers like me. Although, but just as biased as the statement may be, I think it's kind of unfair to make a channel and have real-world human people competing against these VR characters. And it does not certainly set a good precedent, because it potentially moves YouTube into being just kids media, which YouTube is already like overviewed by children compared to any other demographic, which is weird because there's a lot of not appropriate for children content on YouTube. So it gets into that weird Netflix scenario where anime ends up in cartoons and cartoons end up in anime. And of course the bad actors that did things like Elsagate can use virtual YouTubers to do very similar things. And I'm sure already have. The next trend was classroom setups, where teachers set up and give tours of their classrooms. Interesting. I could see that being useful in just general education. I haven't seen any classroom setup channels though at all, so either YouTube has put me in a demographic that's not interested in those, or they are not as popular as this claims to be. And I kind of question, really, if this is the top 3 trending things, or if it's the top 3 trending things that they want to talk about. Because if it was really left to just general desire, I think one of the top 3 trending things would have been something different. Whether that would have been politics or news or something. And then the third is the relaxation videos, which should not be allowed, and they're just not fair at all to anybody. The tunes to chill by, let's stream audio that we probably don't have the rights to, edited, and so that they don't get content ID'd forever. Or let's do these ridiculous ASMR videos. Like, it's impossible to really compete on YouTube when the algorithm and just unfair ridiculousness gets to the top of the trending list because of some ridiculous reason. Like, that's not content. I've never once in my life wanted to listen to an ASMR video. And I don't think I'm just being a weirdo because of that. Like, it's low effort. In the same way that I say so many of these Steam games are extremely low effort things that shouldn't be on Steam, I think ASMR and probably virtual YouTubers should not be allowed to compete in the same market as people that are animating, people that are doing research, people that are making videos. Even what I'm doing is moderately low effort, because I'm just playing games and commenting as I'm playing the games. There's a lot more work that could be put into making a YouTube video that's a lot shorter than what I make.
This update is mandatory.
Moving on, we have a game on Steam called SAM, S-A-M, and it looks like a very slow-moving, kind of pixely platforming game. Oh, it looks so slow in the video, so floaty jumps and just slow movements.
Mushroom power! Job done. Well played.
There's something about this platforming game where you step on certain bricks and it changes things. It changes the color of your character. But man, it just seems so slow.
What to do?
And then I'm not sure if this was intentionally animated this way or if it was just an accident, but there's these buzzsaws that form swastikas in this game. SAM is 10% off for $3.59. Easily skip thing. GameIndustry.biz has the update to the story of the remaining Telltale staffers laid off report. It says update, former narrative designer confirms the skeleton crew lost their job, but there are, quote, there are still good people at the company. Which, just as to say, yeah, I imagine they're just going to keep whittling it down until there's only a small amount. When asked what the remaining staff was working on, he said she was unsure. She also asked how many Telltale employees are left. She responded, not many. Yeah, I suppose I would be surprised if it's more than 5. Moving on, we have a game on Steam that says called Snake VR, and this does not look like a game of Snake in VR at all. This looks like a random asset flip of VR elements that are terribly animated. I guess it is. You're running around and there's these toys on a green circuit board, and as you touch the toys, they get put basically in a train that is following you in VR. Like, why in the world would you want to play Snake in VR? It makes no sense. You would not be able to see your tail at all. You'd have to turn around and look to make sure you're not crashing into yourself. This is literally the worst way you'd ever want to play a game of Snake. And it probably, if I was to guess, goes on forever.
Reporting for duty.
Like, I think this game probably goes on forever. It has one Steam achievement. It's 10% off for $1.79. And yeah, it looks horrible, so I'm gonna close that tab. Gamatsu has an article, Sword Art Online VR, Lovely Honey Days, now available in Japan. This is an iOS Google Play game. Episode 1 is free to play, episode 2 can be purchased, and other episodes can be purchased.
Stored energy.
This seems, if I was to guess, to be one of these games where you're not really doing too much. There's a paragraph here that says, feel the breath of Asuna before your very own eyes. So you're just hanging out with Asuna, the female character, in at least the first couple seasons of Sword Art Online. You can take pictures in relaxation mode, you can chat in chat mode, and that seems like that's probably all there is. It doesn't even seem like it has the creepy poke girls mode that has started to become more popular, where you can poke, massage, and otherwise manhandle 3D characters to get different reactions to it. And I bet there's like no nudity or anything in this too, so you really have to be obsessed about Sword Art Online to really want to spend more than 5 minutes on it. On the other hand, if you want to think about all the terrible VR games that exist, I would much prefer to play a 5-minute experience looking at some nicely animated anime characters compared to looking at some very low effort animated horror characters or realistic characters or just nothing at all. Like, there's been so many terrible looking VR games. At least while this will be cartoony and not look realistic at all, it will be done at a higher level of quality for the style of animation style it is. You would have to suspend your disbelief a little bit more, and being in VR and having to suspend your disbelief is weird, certainly. Moving on, Gamatsu has an article, Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom for PS4, Xbox One, and Switch delayed to December 4th. I'm not sure this one's coming to... Well, a PC version is due out in Q1 of 2019, so it probably will come out to the world.
I wonder.
Seems like maybe the Monster Boy series is a series that is coming back as a blast from the past. Next we have a game on Steam called Forest Plague. It's a top-down twin-stick shooter game. Looks like it has a little bit of polish on it, but I'd say it's probably just an asset flip. It's suffering from dark screenshot syndrome, and everything is incredibly dark, and it seems like just a assortment of enemies will come running towards you in this snowy forest. It seems like these enemies get larger and larger. In fact, way too big for their own good. Forest Plague is 30% off for $4.19, and the thing that really kills it is it's part of the Real Fighting Great bundle for $19.68, which includes 11 other games. So anytime you see some of these bundles that really have no business existing, you start to realize that these are low effort games. Go ahead and play this since I should have played that. Let's see. Gamatsu has an article, Omega Vampire coming to the Switch in spring of 2019.
A clever concoction.
It's a boys love visual novel, so a gay visual novel, or young gay visual novel. I don't know, is there any phrase to use that doesn't sound just as bad as boys love? You might as well just use the original title. Omega Vampire was released on PC in December 2016. So more and more of these visual novels are coming to the Switch, at least in Japan. Let's see, if I search Omega Vampire, where do we search the web for things? Where's the... There you go. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's on Steam. Which, I'm not super surprised there. I think we'll probably start to see more boys love games, however, come out on Steam, and I wouldn't even be surprised if some of the older games do. But then there is also a level of, there's just so many visual novels that only, hopefully, one would hope that only the best of the best actually come out to Steam again as like a remastered edition, or come out to Switch and have some relevancy again. We have a game on Steam called Silence Notes, which seems like you're fighting characters upside down, and this is only in Chinese, this game. It's not in English. Like, the whole game is upside down. It doesn't look amazingly good, but yeah, it seems like it's a pretty simplistic concept. No. The idea of turning an entire level upside down makes some sense as a gameplay mechanic when you have several other things you're doing. Making it the only thing that you're selling your game on is probably not going to succeed very well.
Reporting for duty.
Repent.
GameIndustry.biz has an article, Paul W.S. Anderson's Monster Hunter movie slated for production. The film will feature two protagonists from different worlds battling big beasties in order to survive. Again, a movie that will take a lot of special effects, but you know, getting in a world full of dragons and fighting them and not having to pay a license for something like what would be a great example? Not having to pay a license for
Converting stored energy.
For Lord of the Rings or some other dragon-esque story. I don't know what else it would be other than Lord of the Rings, actually. It's probably a good move. And see, this might really... You could probably make a monster hunting movie and say it's based off Monster Hunter and really not base any of it off Monster Hunter, just as an excuse to avoid getting sued by the Tolkien estate. The International Game Developers Association has made a Discord for Pakistani game developers, if anybody's interested in that. Pakistani is attempting to develop a game development industry there and maybe making a little bit of progress in that effort, although I kind of question how much success you can really have in Pakistan developing games. because of just the severe legal and cultural restrictions to tell different types of stories. As a Westerner, that's my fear, is that as soon as one game comes out and it's too controversial, there'll be laws banning the development or sale of games in Pakistan all over the place, as there often are in many Middle Eastern countries. Moving on, Gamatsu has an article, Kingdom Hearts, the story so far announced for PS4. This includes Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 and plus 2.5 remix plus 2.8 final chapter prologue. I think this was already announced. Those sections break down to include several other games. So, like Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 plus 2.5 remix includes Kingdom Hearts Final Mix, Rechain of Memories, 358/2 days with HD remastered cinematics, Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep Final Mix, Kingdom Hearts Recoded HD remastered cinematics, and it just kind of goes on and on. Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue includes Dream Drop Distance and 0.2 Birth by Sleep, a fragmentary passage, and X back cover movie. Video Game Donkey did a video explaining what Kingdom Hearts, the story of Kingdom Hearts, and what he was saying I think may have been 100% true, and it still sounded completely and utterly ridiculous, like a joke. And I just cannot question how much of what he was saying was wrong and how much he was saying was right. And Video Game Donkey is generally known for saying completely the wrong thing when describing games as a joke. I don't know if that even falls under parody, but I think in this instance he may have been telling the exact truth, and it was still unbelievable. Alright. This.
Reporting for duty. For justice.
Gamasutra has an article. Michael Gallagher is stepping down as the CEO of the ESA. Michael Gallagher is leaving his post as the CEO of the Entertainment Software Association after over a decade of the organization. The ESA, in this article, says it's a trade body that counts many of the major players in the United States and game industry among its members, and hosts the yearly E3 industry conference. I would say it's also fair to say the ESA is a lobbying group that has been lobbying hard to say that they don't need regulation for microtransactions and other protections and abuses that have been done by the video game industry, and they're kind of failing. Gallagher was previously the chief technology advisor for George W. Bush and the Assistant Secretary for Commerce and Information by the U.S. Department of Commerce, and he has not publicly stated what he plans on doing in the future, so I wouldn't be surprised if he got another job somewhere else, or if it's just time for some new blood at the ESA. I think there needs to be some new blood at the ESA because they have to be realistic. Even knowing that they will always be a lobbyist group, you kind of have to be realistic and say, look, we cannot have the industry go this bad into microtransactions and cause these great backlashes. There's been, over the last 3 or 4 years, major backlashes against just extreme greed and bad management that's happening at video game companies, and the ESA hasn't done anything to promote good practices, which really that's what the video game industry needs more than anything, is a governing maybe not a governing body, but a body of some sort that tells people, look, these are the best practices. This is how you should do things. This is how you avoid getting sued. This is how you avoid causing customers to hate you.
I will fight with honor.
Most of the companies like EA have somebody sitting on the board of the ESA too. TechRaptor has an article, Nintendo patents a functional Game Boy cover for smartphones, which this patent should not be allowed at all. It should sadly, the US patent system is incredibly broken. Stop me if you've heard this one before, but just yesterday I saw a back cover for like an iPhone that had the Game Boy buttons on it and you could play Tetris. So these devices already exist, they're already playable, they're totally developed. The idea that Nintendo's trying to patent something that has prior art and already exists is ridiculous. Sure, if their patent for the design of the Game Boy itself was still maintained, they could potentially get people on the case for that, but I don't think that patent exists. And the idea that Nintendo would really go and make an effort to make a Game Boy like case for the iPhone seems pretty ridiculous. Like, I don't think they're going to get in that market at all. Also, since this is the original Game Boy, let's just once again point out as I'm looking at the pictures of the patent that the Game Boy only had a B and A button, start and select. Most games are completely unplayable with that. You need more buttons. You need more things you can do. Moving on, more buttons to push. TechRaptor has an article, The Walking Dead Our World, to add new missions after episodes of the show. So, The Walking Dead Our World is being made, I think, by Next Games, according to this picture. It is not the Telltale Walking Dead game. That doesn't inherently mean that this is going to be a good game. The Walking Dead Our World is a free-to-play mobile game which you need to wander the world and fight zombies, similar to the smash hit Pokemon Go. Yeah. There is yet another Walking Dead game in development. So, like, a lot of Walking Dead games in development not by Telltale, so that very easily may have been part of the reason why Telltale decided to fire everybody, is maybe they lost their Walking Dead license or couldn't afford it. Moving on, GameIndustry.biz has a article, Dragalia, D-R-A-G-A-L-I-A, Lost, is a turning point for Nintendo. So this is a Japanese-focused original IP cell phone game that Nintendo has launched. I don't know if you can even play it outside of Japan. It also seems to have not gotten any real play outside of Japan. So that is a slight issue too. So it's very Japanese focused, which I don't inherently mind that. Like, that seems like that's cool to me if Japanese companies want to focus on the Japanese market, because that's generally when they make the games that we liked in the first place. Once they started pandering to other countries, they started to get worse. In the same way that I feel like Hollywood, a California-based movie productions, should be United States focused, because that's when they made the best movies that they ever made, which arguably were never that great. As soon as they started trying to pander towards the Chinese market, for example, you start to started to see a lot of weirdness added to movies for no reason. And I don't think it really helped them any to focus towards the Chinese market, because I think in the end people still didn't go and watch their movies. Moving on, Gamma Sutra has an article, Get a Job, Digital Extremes is looking for a product marketing manager. This is in Costa Mesa, California. If you're interested. I only have a few more things to say. A few more bits of news, because what's on Steam and or Steam just decided to stop letting any games come out today. Resonance of Fate End of Eternity 4K HD edition is now on Steam as a link. I'll put that on my wish list. It's coming out October 17th, but they now have a Steam page that you can wish list. I'm still not sure that I'd play this JRPG over so many others. Like a standalone JRPG kind of doesn't make sense. Honestly, I probably would want to play Ni no Kuni 2 first, on top of that.
Access denied.
Let's see.
Reporting for duty.
Gamma Sutra has an article. The Blizzard president Mike Morhaime, M-O-R-H-A-I-M-E, has stepped down. This might be a great thing. This might be a terrible thing, because now we've seen the guy Ben Brode, who was in charge of Hearthstone, has stepped down and taken some employees with him. Now you have the Activision Blizzard president stepping down. So now the World of Warcraft executive producer J. Allen Brack will be taking the role of president. This might just be nothing, or this might be the beginning of a lot of Activision Blizzard employees splitting off and going and doing their own thing, or it might be that Activision Blizzard is going to run into some trouble. I wouldn't be surprised if it did run into some trouble, because let's face it, the latest World of Warcraft expansion really didn't blow people's minds. Let's see, even in this article it says, this changing of the guard does come amidst a semi-recent trend of high-level departures from Blizzard Entertainment. Though no public-facing changes have come with these departures, Morhaime is the third upper-level management to leave the company this year. We already talked about the ESA president stepping down. That's a GameIndustry.biz article talking about that again. Let's see. Let's
for justice.
This.
The battle.
This.
Repent.
The battle. Reporting for duty.
This.
Job done. Reporting for duty.
GameIndustry.biz has an article. The ex-Irrational and Slipgate veteran shares the secret of game development survival. Apathy will kill your game. So work on something you believe in, says indie developer Gwyn Frey. This is probably more of an interview than anything else. There's a quote, if your developers don't feel like they have the time to do something right, they won't feel accountable when they do something wrong. Is a quote. What I fear when I look at a studio isn't people who are loud or shy or smell bad. What I fear is people who are apathetic or hopeless. Which, okay, that's, I suppose, one thing to be afraid of. There's lots of things to be afraid of. But yeah, I totally agree with that. If you're hopeless in your job, if you don't care about your job, you're not going to do a good job. And most people don't care if you do a good job, and most instances, though, and that's part of the problem too. We have a game on Steam called Trip, which I have no idea what it is, but it looks bad. Looks bad enough for me to immediately reject. Just looks like MS Paint graphics. It's early access for $1.19. It's an asteroids game. It seems like it's like a bullet hell avoidance game. It doesn't even seem like you can shoot. It seems like you're just avoiding things that are flying towards you. Okay. I did listen to the video on Gamasutra that was a retrospective look at girl games at the 90s. I listened to all of that. It really was kind of just people who made the original girl games in the 90s patting themselves on the back. There's really nothing else that you could say about it, frankly. They didn't give any real insight. They just talked about the struggles of getting girl games made. And a lot of just talking about second and third wave feminist ways of thinking, and saying the whole industry in the 90s was sexist, basically, which maybe it was, probably was. I wouldn't be surprised if you could just classify all of the 90s as slightly sexist. But there's certainly no actual anecdotes or stories told that were amazingly alarming. And it's weird to listen to a bunch of people who made the quote-unquote girl games in the 90s that I would more generically just classify as bad games. Like, whether they're for girls or boys, they were not very good games. Maybe they didn't have the budget, but that doesn't really change anything for the consumer. I looked up all the games, by the way. I'm on the Humble Bundle for the overwhelmingly positive Humble Bundle. I don't have anything from the second tier, which is now $7.02, so I need to buy that quickly because I just cost myself like 30 cents just by waiting a few days. As far as any other games bundle, there isn't any. We're gonna finish this game, and I'm gonna go over and look at the Asian account, but then I think it's just we're gonna end the stream and I'll just play this stuff off screen, because there's, with what's on Steam not having any games, or Steam not letting any games, there's not a lot to talk about here. I'm back on my Steam account. Let's see. Hey, Team YouTube actually tweeted back. We'd like to help. What device are you on? Also, try on different devices and see if that makes a difference. Let us know. So I'll respond back to them. That I'm actually surprised they would respond, but I imagine they'll respond, or at least look like they're responding to everybody. Let's play this. This. We have Icons. The game Icons developer Wave Dash Games lays off the majority of all its staff from Gamasutra. We can talk about that. Fantasy Brandon Sanderson considers granting CD Projekt Red. Wait, no. Is it CD Projekt Red, or is this some other CD Projekt? Because this just is called CD Projekt. The free rights to the Mistborn series, which that would be interesting. So then they would just stop maybe making Witcher games and move to a different series.
Out of my jungle!
Let's see. Telltale Saga further downside. We already talked about that. Let's see. Gamatsu has some potential XC title dates from Amazon listings. That's really not information that's helpful. Yeah, and it's probably not going to kick in for quite a while. That we would be able to. I don't even know why I'm playing this game. Let's concede this game.
Victory is yours.
I need more victories. And what would be the easiest way to get victories would be to play the solo adventures games, but I also need ranked victories. So I'm gonna play one more game. I might concede halfway through this. As I'm scrolling down my Twitter feed. Yeah, actually, let's just cancel that because I am already at the bottom of my Twitter feed too, so I have to I'll have to do the rest of this all off screen. So I need a victory here, I need a victory in the main account. Let's go see what we needed to do on the Asian account. And yes, I could just make this a silent post show and just continue to play and let people see me play, but I don't really see a reason to do that. Let's see.
Welcome. Can you feel the energy in
Yeah, this Gamma Sutra article about the Icons dev Wave Dash laying off the majority of staff basically doesn't say anything other than Icons Combat Arena is not succeeding. So there's really not much of a story there. Let's re-roll this one. Take 20 turns. This is a nice... Well, take 30 turns. This is a nice new quest to get. And then, let's see. Tech Raptors article. Fantasy author Brandon Sanderson considers granting CD Projekt free rights to the Mistborn series. In light of The Witcher author Andrzej Sapkowski suing CD Projekt. When did CD Projekt change its name from CD Projekt to CD Projekt Red? Apparently, maybe they changed their name, or maybe there's two corporations, like a parent corporation. Brandon Sanderson is a famous fantasy author who completed Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time series. His main claim to fame is perhaps the books of his commerce universe, such as the Mistborn and the Stormlight Archive. So, there's a quote here. I read this thread last night at about 3, and came really close to posting, "Dear CD Projekt, if you can have the Mistborn rights if you want them." So yeah, if I was a moderately well-known author, or even a not well-known author at all, giving the rights of my book series to CD Projekt Red for a price would make a lot of sense. We're in a weird position here. Like, I have the only game I'm putting on my wish list today is Resonance of Fate. I have to now talk to at YouTube and tell them, hey, this is not working on this or this. And yeah, there's just some weirdness certainly going on. I wonder if maybe my own ad blocking is blocking my own videos. That wouldn't make a lot of sense. Anyways, that's gonna be it for this stream. I'm gonna get the rest of these quests, which there's a decent amount of stuff still to do, done off screen. Thank you for anyone who watched, or everybody who watched, whichever happens to be more true. Let's see. My screen messed up. Yeah. Nothing else to say. Yep, I'm looking at the chat. That's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.